Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the 9 Frames Podcast. This is episode 71, and it is Monday, January 22nd, 2024. I am Bill Whalen.
And I'm Mike Whalen.
Be sure to catch us, as always, on YouTube at 9 Frames Podcast. Our Spotify is 9 Frames, and our X is at 9 Frames Pod. Please follow us on there, subscribe, like, comment, and share if you enjoy the show.
Yeah, we only had one episode last week on Wednesday. It's because it was a slow news. It's been kind of slow for the past couple of weeks, but it was pretty busy over the weekend, so we got some more stuff to talk about on Monday.
Yeah, we gathered all the news up, and it is a lot more pitching news to talk about, but we do have a hitter to talk about as well, and some feel-good stories, so we'll get into that now.
Yeah, that's been the theme. It's been very pitcher-heavy.
For, like, the last month, maybe month and a half
pretty much the entire offseason, really.
Yeah.
Not many position players have signed.
That's very true. We're still waiting on those Cody Bellingers to get off the board.
Mm-hmm.
And we will get into that news now, the biggest of which is a closing pitcher stepping into a role of a team that didn't really need to fill that role.
One of the very best closing pitching options.
Very true. Josh Hader signs with the Houston Astros, man. This is a marriage of two deadly forces in this league. 5 years, $95 million.
They're going to have an insane... Teams are going to have a very tough time hitting against the Astros in the 7, 8, 9 now with Brian Abreu, Ryan Presley, and Josh Hader back there, man.
Back end of that pen is absolutely filthy. And speaking of filthy, last season, Hader's coming off a 33-save season for the San Diego Padres, where he pitched to the tune of a 1.28 ERA and a 1.10 whip. He had 85 strikeouts in 56 and a third inning pitched.
Yeah, he was phenomenal again last year. I mean, he was... Again, one of the best closers in the game for a team that wasn't particularly good, but now he's going to go to an organization and a team that is typically good. So for the next 5 years, $95 million too, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, I know it's baseball, and you probably shouldn't say things like this, but the way recent history has gone, it's pretty much guaranteed we're probably going to see some Josh Hader playoff innings if he stays healthy for the season.
Yeah, and I mean...
Houston Astros have been there for, the last 8 years?
Yeah, and they've been to, 6 straight ALCS or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we live in a world where they end up missing it, but I'm saying we're probably going to see Josh Hader back in a prominent role on a team that can actually compete.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. The Astros are known for the last couple of years for having an insanely good bullpen, and like I just said, I think they have the best 7, 8, 9 in baseball now, and I don't think it's close.
No, it's hard to disagree with you. I would also pick their 7, 8, 9 as the one that's going to be brutal.
I mean, Abreu's in the 7th, dude. It's a 6-inning game at this point.
Yeah, he's a guy that could fully be a closer on most any other team.
And Presley he doesn't give up runs at all in the playoffs, let alone, so he doesn't even have to be the closer anymore.
It's a good deal for the Astros, too. I don't remember the exact number of Edwin Diaz's, but this is significantly less. It's like $10, $15 million less. So.
Yeah, he is, He did get a little bit less than him, but he is a little bit worse, I would say.
I mean, if a guy's going to pitch to a 1.28, you can't do much better than that.
Yeah, he had a great year last year.
Career 250, this guy is. So, I mean, he's worth every penny of this deal with the way the pitching market has worked now.
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree at all.
Good on the Astros. The GM said that he spoke to now former closing pitcher Ryan Presley beforehand to see if it was all right with him that he would sign Hader and he would get the 9th inning role, and he was all right with it. He'll be moving to the 8th, and like you said, Brian Abreu probably in that 7th role.
Yeah, that's good to hear if you're an Astros fan, because that means there won't be any turmoil about it.
Yeah, and they were going to have a hole to fill. We'll move on to our next point here, because this is actually addressing that. Hector Neris, who had a phenomenal season for the Astros last year, was probably going to be in that, that was the way they structured it. He was their 7th inning guy last year. He's seeking a 3-year, $50 million deal in free agency. Kind of a steal, if you ask me. He's coming off a 1.71 ERA, 1.05 whip season, 77 Ks and 68 in a third innings pitch. So he's kind of a workhorse as well. Really great season.
Yeah, if he can maintain even numbers even close to what he did last year, I mean, I think he's definitely worth the 3 for $50.
Yeah, 3 or 50. Somebody get that done. And it's crazy because if that's what he's looking for, a guy with those numbers, you'd think we would have heard more about what teams are interested. We haven't heard a team attached yet.
Yeah, I don't know why. Maybe with Hader signing now, the reliever market starts to flow a little bit more.
It should. It should be interesting to see where he goes, because there are a lot of teams that could use a dominant guy.
I mean, there's a lot of good options out there too, besides Neris.
I'm very interested to see because of how good his stats actually were, but how many innings he pitched. Do you make a guy like that a closer?
You could
Because
argue
he
it, yeah.
wasn't in the high pressure situations as much. He was more in the 6th and 7th innings last year. Would moving him to the closer role be detrimental to him, or would it be a benefit? I wonder.
Honestly, it'll be interesting to see what he does. Maybe he goes to a team that's a little bit worse off, top to bottom, if they give him the money and the closer role, as opposed to somebody will give him the money and like an 8th inning, 7th inning role again. That's like a clear contender. I don't know. We'll see what he does.
I'm wondering, man, because this is a guy who had, like we just talked about, Josh Hader. He had 12 innings pitched on Hader last year.
Yeah.
That's no small feat.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, he was in the closer, so they used him in more spots than you would typically use a closer.
Definitely, and so it'll be interesting to see if he ends up signing in a place where he can settle back into a 7th inning role, which he might do on another dominant team.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Who knows what he does? Maybe he doesn't want to be a closer and he wants to keep the role that he has. He's comfortable in the 7th.
Either way, I know as a Met fan and a lot of fans out there, this is a guy that I would love to sign, specifically the Mets, to be in a role that wouldn't be closing with the return of Edwin Diaz.
Yeah, that would be a fun guy to have coming out before Edwin Diaz, man.
If your team's got a good closer, you should hope that they sign Hector Neris to this deal, because he could be a guy that really helps set you up, and that is so important in playoff baseball particularly.
I agree.
Talking about our next one here, this is a pretty feel-good one. Matt Carpenter will return to St. Louis, the Cardinals, on a 1-year league minimum deal. He's still getting $5.5 million from Atlanta and San Diego combined. I know people are going to be surprised he didn't even play for Atlanta last year, but they're still paying him $3.26 million. He'll be paid from Atlanta, and $1.5 million from San Diego.
I completely forgot that he even got traded to the Braves.
He got traded there and never played because of elbow inflammation that he suffered in July.
And they're gonna have to pay him $3.26 million. That's crazy.
Never got that bad in that jersey. That's pretty
tough.
wild. Last year he slashed 176, 322, and 319, a rare one where on base is higher than slugging.
Yeah.
But before that, man, it was shocking to see what he did in 2022. He had 47 games with the Yankees, and he had a 305, 412, 727 slash, an 1138 on base percentage, 15 homers, and 37 RBI.
Yeah, I remember his little bit of a resurgence with the Yankees. He's an older guy too, so it was weird to see how hot he came out with the Yankees, but then he got hurt, unfortunately, and didn't come back until the end of the season. And then he never really got back to what he's been. But who knows? Maybe coming home to St. Louis will change the way he plays. I saw a cool stat, I think it was, that there's like 2 players remaining that are active from the last time the Cardinals won the World Series in 2011, and it's Carpenter and Lynn, and they signed them both back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a nice thing to do. It'll be nice for the fans who are around for that time to see their guys back in the Threads this year. I think those are just guys that, because this is more about them being Cardinals icons than anything, they're kind of going to round out the big league roster with veterans presence. I don't know if they're going to depend on them for production.
Yeah, both 1-year deals, so you're not really tied to them past this point. So it'll be nice to just see both guys back in their Threads for at least 1 year.
Yeah, Matt Carpenter, I'm assuming, is going to be that guy who comes off the bench when
DH, maybe?
need a nice bat. Yeah, DH is always a spot that you can slot him into anytime anyone needs a day off as well.
You could also honestly throw him over at first if Goldie needs to DH for a day.
Yeah, his defense never really wavered. So.
Yeah, he could play first.
Mm-hmm. So good to see Matt Carpenter return to St. Louis. And I mean, with guys like McCutchen returning to Pittsburgh,
it seems like it's
nice
happening
to see
a lot.
all of that, yeah. Man, now we just need Longoria to go back to the Rays one last time.
Yeah, I don't know if the Rays are about that. The way that they operate, I don't think they operate based on feel good.
There's no sentiments with the Rays. They are absolute robots about the numbers, and man, does it get the job done.
If you produce, you'll be on the Rays. If they think that you've got upside, you'll be there. But if they don't think you're going to bring anything to them, they don't want you. Mm-hmm. We've seen it how many times when they trade players. I mean, even now, Tyler Glasnow, who just got traded to the Dodgers, it makes you think, do the Rays know something that we don't?
Yeah, because when I really had thought that Glasnow found a new home in Tampa Bay, and then he was going to be there for quite a while, but then just as the offseason started, they just said, no, we're listening to offers, and boom, he's gone.
Yeah, just like that.
It is a business, and the Rays continue to prove that every year.
Yeah, fortunately for Carpenter and Lynn, the Cardinals do operate with feel-good stories, so they're both back where they were, I mean, what is it now, 13 years ago? Mm-hmm. It's pretty crazy.
Speaking of Cardinals and speaking of feel-good stories, we have another one here with a Cardinals legend, MLB legend in my opinion. I think it's not debatable. Adam Wainwright will be joining Fox Sports as a full-time analyst. Love to hear that. Cardinals fans will hear his voice.
That doesn't surprise me at all after the playoffs when he was up there in the booth. He sounded like he was having a great time, and he's really honestly... you would expect it. He's great at it because of how much knowledge he has on the game.
Yeah, Adam Wainwright's one of those guys. He's just a baseball guy through and through, and him calling games sounds like a match made in heaven.
Yeah, it's great. It's great to hear.
Yeah, Cardinals fans specifically will be happy if your team's going to be on Fox this year. You will be hearing your guy Adam Wainwright.
I mean, even in general, yeah. It's nice to just hear people that have knowledge up there. Like, when he breaks down pitching, you're like, why wouldn't I believe this guy? Because he's a 20-year veteran.
Not to mention, when he breaks it down, man, he breaks it down in depth and really well. When they do the slow-motion breakdowns mid-game, it's very insightful.
Yeah, stuff like that adds to broadcast a lot. It's good to get guys like that in the booth.
Great signing for Fox Sports, and Wainwright will be back on our screens next year. That was quick.
Yeah, for real.
Our next talking point will be another pitching signing. Right-hander Robert Stevenson and the Los Angeles Angels are in agreement on a 3-year, $33 million contract. If that sounds pretty heavy, man, it is. That'll include a conditional option as well. This option is pretty interesting to me, man. He opened last season on the IL for elbow inflammation, so they have a condition here where if he misses a significant amount of time due to an elbow injury or has a Tommy John, they can pick him up for $2.5 million on that last year in 2027.
That is, I mean, contracts are getting wild, man. They're getting really creative with how they figure out money and injuries and service time. It's nuts.
Yeah, I mean, there's no deferrals on that Josh Hader deal before, so, I mean, that was actually weird to not have to mention deferrals.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any deferrals on this one either. Teams are actually back to just spending the money that they committed to spend.
I mean, only the Dodgers really have done the deferral thing this offseason.
Yeah, I guess it's just the fact that they've also been just about every other signing.
Yeah.
But this time it is the Angels who get their guy. They will be paying him $11 million a year, and, I mean, if he gets banged up one year and misses a significant amount of time, $2.5 million on that last 2027 year.
Yeah, you can't beat that.
No, he has 8 seasons in the big leagues, 6 years of service time now. That's why he was a free agent. He's a career .464 and .134. Those are kind of very average numbers. A lot of ups and downs in that career.
Yeah, for sure. He was on the Rays, right? Toward the end?
The end of last year, he was traded to the Rays in June from Pittsburgh, yeah.
And then what happened then?
Yeah, so last year, specifically here he had a 5.14 ERA in 14 innings pitched with Pittsburgh, and then they traded him to Tampa Bay in June. From there, he had a 2.35 ERA and 60 strikeouts with only 8 walks and 38 1/3 innings pitched.
So him getting traded to the Rays just made him a lot more money because now he looks like he could be a legitimate threat. I mean, a 2.35 over, what'd you say?
38 1/3 innings pitched. Yeah.
That's a lot.
No, he was a really good arm for them. It makes you think, was it the Rays pitching factory, or has he found his groove?
Yeah, but regardless, I mean, even if it was the Rays pitching factory, they told him what to fix. Mm-hmm. So now he has the advice and the knowledge of what they told him he was doing wrong, and he's taking it to the Angels now.
Should be interesting if he's able to stay in that form, because
he's just got to stay healthy.
Like we said, a lot of his career, though, was at league average, maybe even a little above league average with that 4.64 ERA and 1.34 whip. So, I mean, for him to be at a 2.35, that's a significant drop.
It's the Rays, man. We already talked about it. That's what they do.
Yeah, and $11 million is a pretty hefty amount, so they hope this guy stays healthy, and they hope he stays in that form from last year.
Yeah, because, I mean, he's going to have to be one of the options to close out there, you'd assume.
Yeah, last year it was all Carlos Estevez, but he had a lot of struggles, and he pitched to almost the tune of a 4. So.
Yeah, so maybe this is another option for them. I mean, a 2.35 in your closing option, that's pretty solid. Hopefully he can handle the ninth as well as he was handling the other innings in Tampa.
Worth noting that the Los Angeles Angels, man, they've been signing a lot of relievers. They have signed right-handed relievers Adam Simber and Luis Garcia, as well as left-handed reliever Adam Kolarek. So that's a lot of options. I wonder if they stick with their guy Estevez or if they give it to one of these signings.
I like that for the Angels, honestly. They always struggle with pitching. So it can never hurt to have depth. You know, we all know that in the major leagues. It's such a long, tumultuous season. You need depth, and they've signed a ton of it in the relieving department so far.
Yeah, it's going to be a deep bullpen, and it's going to be one that has a lot of possibility. I don't remember the specific stat, but they were one of the worst bullpens in the league. I think their ERA hung around 5.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to have a lot of new faces this year, so they are at least trying something different, and that's all you can really ask for if you're a fan.
Yeah, Carlos Estevez also did get that All-Star nod last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was good in the first half. He only started to struggle in the second half. I mean, when the Angels, people forget, they were battling up until, like, the All-Star break a little bit before. And then they just got cold.
There was times where they didn't know whether to buy or sell, and they actually did a soft buy of a lot of pitching, and they brought a couple guys on.
Renfroe?
Yeah, Renfroe was on, and a couple bats. But, man, yeah, it just didn't work out, and a lot of those guys were off the team within a couple of weeks because they went straight to waivers once the team gave up.
Everybody just got cold, and it just went south. But they were battling there, so it's like I said, it's good to see, and you should feel good if you're an Angels fan to see that they're trying new things.
A lot of new faces in Angels Red next year, as well as your guy, Mike Trout. So stay tuned, Angels fans. This should still be fun for you guys. You've gotten the pleasure of watching Mike Trout for so long. I know Shohei Ohtani now.
Yeah, you've always got something to watch as long as you got Mike Trout on your team. That's what I always say.
Very entertaining. Speaking of entertaining, our last point here, 46-year-old Fernando Rodney says he is hoping to return to the big leagues before calling it a career. He's got a career 3.80 ERA and a 1.38 whip, and he's got 327 saves and 933 innings pitched. This guy was a solid arm for a long time, 19 big league seasons.
The bow and arrow out to center field. One of the coolest celebrations of all time after a save.
Yeah, this is a guy where it's like he had some rough stuff in the very end of his career. So to think about a big league club signing,
and it's
46,
been a couple years since he's been here. To what, 2022?
Yeah, I think literally a couple years. Yeah.
So I mean, it's been a minute. He's 46. I mean, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see him get out there if he can. But
would round off his big league career at a 20-year.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be really nice to see. This is a guy who, growing up, it was one of my favorite guys to watch. He was an absolute electric factory out of that pen for, specifically, I remember watching him the most for Tampa Bay and Seattle, but man, he played for just about every team.
I could see a team in the middle, like the Pirates or the Padres or someone like that, giving him a chance just to see if it works out.
The Padres are a good shout.
It's not going to be an expensive deal to get him. It's going to be a minimum.
100%. So he just wants one more year in the big leagues, probably to round it out at 20.
It'll be interesting to see if somebody gives him a chance. Because we remember Bartolo wanted to come back, and nobody was really interested in that a couple years ago.
Yeah.
We'll see if it's the same situation for Rodney, but since he's a reliever, it might not be the same because he's a one-inning guy instead of a starter.
Yeah.
No one wants to pay a 48-year-old starter.
I am genuinely hoping that somebody gives him the chance, and we see somebody who's 46 years old try to get some significant innings in the big leagues. That would be a fun watch.
He would easily be the oldest player in the league.
Yeah, wouldn't it? I mean, I'm sure it wouldn't make history because back in the day there were guys who went so long,
like almost 50.
Yeah, so but it would be definitely significant.
Yeah, I mean, 40
especially for the modern
there ain't
era.
Nobody that's 40. People don't play to 40 anymore.
No,
really.
That's around
46.
the cap. Yeah,
46 would be crazy.
So we'll see if we see Fernando Rodney return to our bumps in 2024. I hope so.
Yeah, best of luck to him.
Thank you to everybody for watching and listening wherever you do. That was episode 71 of the 9 Frames podcast, and it is Monday, January 22nd, 2024. I've been Bill Whalen.
And I've been Mike Whalen.
Be sure to catch us, as always, on YouTube at 9 Frames Podcast. Our Spotify is 9 Frames, and our X is at 9 Frames Pod. As we say, please follow us on there. Subscribe, like, comment, and share if you enjoy the show.
Yeah, we appreciate it as always, and unfortunately it hasn't been as busy as we'd liked, but that's typically how the MLB offseason goes.
Yeah, I mean, the days are coming down, man. I think it's in the 30s till pitchers and catchers report, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're almost at February here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're getting there.
Teams got to get going. There are some big free agents. I mean, man, the NL Cy Young is just out there.
Yep. I mean, Cody Bellinger, who just had a monster season, is still out there. Great DH options, Justin Turner, Jorge Soler, JD Martinez. There's some bats out there. I mean, like we said, pitching has been like the dominant thing that's been the signings so far, besides Ohtani. But
a lot of relievers, teams filling in the holes, but I mean, there are big names out there on that market, and then they need these teams.
Yeah, the hitting market's going to have to pick up eventually. I mean, we're running out of time here, you know?
Yeah, hopefully it is this week that it does that.